Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to this episode. My name is JonDZ for the people that don't know, and I am a all-wheel drive expert. I'm certified by national parks. There's going to be a lot of restrictions, period. A lot of news articles are speaking about this whole incident as if all-wheel drives aren't allowed to off-road at all. That's just not the case. I know this whole subject is buzzing right now. When could you off-road in a national park anyways? I'm getting so many messages about this recent story with a Subaru Crosstrek out in Moab, and he got sent a letter by the National Park Service that he wasn't allowed to drive in that area. So let me go get into this. All right, first of all, even before I started overlanding, like back in 2013 or so, I did a lot of research. I became very interested in getting into the overlanding scene. And at the time I was driving a Subaru WRX, and I saw things like the White Rim Trail out in Canyonlands. And so that trail, you actually need a permit to do. And the ranger is supposed to inspect your vehicle to make sure it's up to the task. So they'll go under your vehicle, do an inspection. They require, they say 4-wheel drive, and they also require a low gear transfer case. With this recent letter, him getting that, like, this isn't anything new, to be honest. I know it's in the news, and a lot of these news stories, especially the article by MSN, they're so stupid. They don't know what they're talking about as far as what a 4-wheel drive is. And if you read this article by MSN, it's like, a 4-wheel drive has to have locking differentials. I'm like, there's a lot of 4-wheel drives that don't have locking differentials. I think what they meant was that what differentiates a 4-wheel drive from an all-wheel drive is that there's a rotational lock from your front tires to your rear tires. It's a rotational lock. It's not like this clutch pack that clamps down super tight. I know there's some people that argue with me that all-wheel drives could clamp down just as great as a 4-wheel drive, and I'm like, no, that's different. That's totally different. A clutch pack is meant to slip. When you have a rotational lock front to rear, your vehicle is going to have a lot of balance on slippery terrain. Okay, and when the going gets rough, it's a really awesome thing to have. Just like people putting like rear lockers in their Subarus, a 4-wheel drive will have a, basically, I know I can't call it a center locker, but yeah, there's a rotational lock front to rear. So with your part-time 4-wheel drives, with your vehicle like a Lexus GX that is all-wheel drive, until you hit that center mechanical differential button, and now it becomes full-time 4-wheel drive. So here we have a 4-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma and an all-wheel drive Honda Ridgeline on the right. Both vehicles are driving out the difficult Bird's Eye Gulch Trail. This is level 5. The rocks are large. These vehicles have 33-inch tires on the Ridgeline and 35 on the Tacoma. One thing that this clip will show you is that the Tacoma, because of its transfer case and rotational lock front to rear, the front and rear tires will spin at the same rate. As with a Ridgeline, you will see power escaping out the path of least resistance. So the Ridgeline has a rear twin clutch differential. It's between a locker and a LSD, which gives it increased capability for an all-wheel drive. But the front differential is open. The power is going to want to escape the path of least resistance. So with no mechanical rotational lock from front to rear, if one of my front tires goes up in the air, it will spin uncontrollably and I'll lose forward progress. That's always been there, people. And if you read that letter, they're talking about trails like Elephant Hill, which is rated a 6 out of 10. It's hard, right? I mean, that's beyond a lot. Like if you take your vehicle on a 6 out of 10 trail, you're going off of Trails Off-Road rating levels, expect body damage, expect your vehicle to break, expect your axles to snap. Bad things could possibly happen, and they do. With friends that do get on difficult four-wheel drive trails, you know, their vehicles break down on a regular basis because it's competitive. On that letter, there are some trails that are rated a level 3 moderate. Now, I have to point out that White Rim Trail is rated a level 3 moderate. Okay, now this Honda that I drive, it does level 4s pretty reliably with the way it's built out. Okay, if I didn't have the ball system, if I didn't have 33-inch tires, if I didn't have the articulation from all the mods by Manny or New Age Performance, then yeah, then this thing, if it just had the 3.5-inch lift, I would say that it will handle like level 3s pretty reliably. But a level 4, to handle all the level 4s, I need these mods that I have currently. So with that said, there's a lot of all-wheel drives that lack traction control, like the Toyota all-wheel drives. They don't really have a good traction control system. Subarus, they have a great traction control system, but they have a CVT. And we all know the shortcomings with the CVT. Although the Forester and Crosstrek Wilderness has upgraded gearing, it's like 16.7 to 1. So that does make them better, and you know, they should be able to do a trail like Imogene Pass, right? Now, I will point out that this Honda is geared 20.4 to 1, so it's quite a bit more gearing, and it has a V6, but it is bigger. And there's some places that, you know, Subaru Forester Wilderness will be able to maneuver through because it's much smaller. There's been stories in the past about this. Like, I want to say a decade ago, there's been stories about the National Park Service saying that all-wheel drives are getting stuck out there, especially in Canyonlands, and it's a problem. This is not my words. This is the National Park Service talking about it like a long time ago. And so it seems like now they're doing something about it. Now, that's crazy that they wrote the dude a letter. Like, I kind of want to question the authenticity of this letter, but apparently they wrote the dude a letter and specifically said a vehicle with your license plate matched to your VIN number is shown as being all-wheel drive. That's crazy. Like, dude, the National Park Service can't even find people that are like littering out on the trails or on campsites. How the heck are they gonna go, we spotted you, we saw you, we wrote down your license plate, and then we got on a computer and matched the VIN number? This is crazy to me. But anyways, I'm getting so many messages from people like, well, what are you gonna do, John? They're fighting everyone from off-roading out. Dude, it's only some national parks, okay, at least currently. So like, if you check, for example, I checked Joshua Tree, and when you drive up to those trails like Burdew, Old Dell Road, they will say high clearance 4x4 recommended. Actually, they just say recommend, not even required. So you're not going to get, at least right now, unless they change things, unless there's a bunch of all-wheel drives driving out to Joshua Tree, getting stuck and dying. I mean, yeah, that's totally going to change things. They will consider doing what Canyonlands did. All right, so closing words, what do I think should happen? I mean, I'm no one to say what should happen, but I mean, whatever happened to just doing gatekeepers? If you have the entrance to a trail that you don't want people going on because it's difficult, then just put a bunch of rocks in front of it. I think that should stop most all-wheel drives from continuing on. That's what they did over at Gold Mountain. You know, they had like Gold Mountain here in Big Bear, California, you know, some people would get on that trail that, you know, and then break down and block the trail. So what did they do? They implemented a gatekeeper. Is it just a cash grab? It could be. I mean, they're closing down a bunch of Moab trails. The BLM is selling it off. I don't know all the details about it, but Moab's getting weird, right? What are they doing? Is this a cash grab? Like, hey, we want to charge you $5,000. And then the last thing, you might be wondering, why are there so many four-wheel drives that are talking and saying so many mean things about this situation? Look, the whole off-road scene has always had a lot of gatekeeping, all right? So I know the whole overland thing is pretty new. There's a lot of pleasant people in this community, and because, you know, your goal is to just, you know, not really so much conquer that obstacle and compete with others to conquer obstacles, but to just get out there and live free. So yeah, when it comes to the off-road space, it's all about just, it's very, very gatekeeper, as in very competitive, and internet's also a mean place. Like, people are going to say things. Some people might say some nice things, but what's going to stand out are those mean things that might hurt your feelings. It's what you would expect, right? I'm not surprised. I'm not, you know. There's also a lot of people on the internet that over sensationalize the capabilities of all-wheel drive. Let's be fair here. If I'm going to be talking about the gatekeepers and people that are going to be act like elitists, I also have to talk about the people that kind of over sensationalize and saying that their all-wheel drive is just as capable as a four-wheel drive. On my channel, I always put disclaimers that even though my vehicle is modified and I'm, you know, doing these cool things, you know, this vehicle that I drive, I'm not going to claim that it is as capable as a four-wheel drive.